I just got done studying for some finals with a couple of buddies of mine, and I was, having a pretty good day and enjoying a moment of blissful ignorance, as we all do, until I suddenly got a notification from my phone, and I looked at it. The notification is from Jaguar, and immediately this sense of like impenetrable dread fills my mind. And I look at the notification, and lo and behold, Jaguar has taken another step in the wrong direction. This is the Jaguar Type 00, and boy howdy, is it absolutely horrendous. It is one of the worst looking cars ever. This might be worse looking than the Nissan Juke. And hear me out. I already made a video on Jaguar's terrible decision making, but like King Von, I decided to spin back. So let's get into it. And also we're going to talk about a little bit why so many factors of the car scene and like the car manufacturing world are starting to crumble a little bit. And we'll notice that instead of asking the normal questions like we ask, like why or how, we're going to ask questions like, well, what did you expect? Because when we talk about Stellantis and we talk about companies like Nissan and Toyota, you'll start to realize that a lot of people really are out of touch, and they make these decisions that just reinforce the idea that some people just don't get it.
Right, so I am with the all-new Jaguar Type 00, which is a design vision. Check it out, it looks absolutely insane. When we look at the front, we can have a look at all these amazing LEDs, 23-inch wheels, and I'll show you the back of the car as well. These insane lights, as you can see. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have a look inside as the doors open, which is just absolutely crazy. Check out that interior, which is unbelievable. And then we have another storage compartment which comes out as well. And then the screens go up as well. That is insane.
First of all, I'd like to sincerely apologize for the absolutely disgusting eyesore you just witnessed. I mean, no shame to Archie Hamilton for doing this video. I love his videos, and this is just another one of those reviews where Jaguar probably paid him to say something nice. And as you can see, we get a pretty in-depth look at this new car, the Jaguar Type 00. And before we get into anything like that, I think the Jaguar Type 00 is a ridiculous name. It is a name that fits perfectly with the car, and it is mundane, it is stupid, it is minimalist, it is boring, and nothing about this car rings any of my bells. If this car was like a boyfriend, I would be giving it like 0 out of 5 green flags. But in all seriousness, how could someone genuinely look at this car and be appreciative of what their eyes are taking in? How can someone look at this disgusting mess of 5,000-pound electric vehicle disgusting mess? It just looks terrible. And I know my opinion is pretty subjective. Wait a minute. No, that's not true. I'm completely objective when I say that this car is terrible. Their entire slogan with this car is copy nothing, but this thing looks so much like a Rolls-Royce Spectre, except the Jaguar Type 00 looks stupid. The Rolls-Royce Spectre actually looks cool because it's a Rolls-Royce. And forgive me for my messy bed in the background. I know I've been having a pretty rough day. I mean, I've been studying for finals, and my day was not going terribly until I got the news that this was happening, and my entire week has been ruined. And we've already gone over the terrible new ad that Jaguar put out. We've already gone over the weird redesign choices, and we've already gone over just how stupid Jaguar is being right now. And I know I'm using a lot of childish language. I know I'm being kind of ridiculous and kind of immature about the situation, but that's all we really can do, because no one in a high enough realm of speaking is really talking out against Jaguar. I mean, you have influencers like Whistle and Diesel who have been saying, oh, the future looks promising, and then like just things like that. And people aren't really giving Jaguar backlash. And there's a pretty good reason, and it's because Jaguar won't listen. What I can confidently say that Jaguar is doing absolutely right, though, is they're gaining a lot of popularity. And I guess when your brand is, starting to drown itself in the sea of car manufacturing and they're just trying to stay above water, I guess any publicity is good publicity, because as you can see here, we have googletrends.com or trends.google.com. And if you put in the term Jaguar and you put the search to over the past 5 years, you can see a massive spike in December / November of 2024. And I'm going to be honest, this is exactly what I expected from this kind of situation. Jaguar is gaining popularity that it has quite literally never had before. I mean, of course, it got a lot of popularity when shows like Top Gear, the Grand Tour came out, when a third of their show was just talking about Jaguars and how cool it is to own a Jag. But this popularity obviously is going to happen because Jaguar is just being stupid. It's like one of those really cringe and childish kick streamers doing something absolutely stupid, Jack Doherty, Neon, and they do it because any fame is good fame, no matter the consequence and no matter the reason behind this fame. So as we can see here, Jaguar is obviously getting more popular because their car sucks and their new rebrand sucks. I've already said all of this before. A quick side note as to what actually happened with the revealing of Jaguar's Type 00 design is that it was actually leaked around 5 to 7 days ago. And I believe that Jaguar, because of these leaks, were forced to push the car's design out early. Does this change anything? Absolutely not. And I just, thought it was pretty interesting. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. The last sliver of hope that I had that this was some kind of terrible joke and that some Bitcoin scammer hacker hacked into Jaguar's account and was about to tell you to donate all of your Bitcoin into this sketchy link, this is real. And we might be seeing these cars on the road. I'm a little bit hesitant to say that this could be another Cybertruck situation. I'm pretty hesitant to compare this to the Cybertruck because the Cybertruck was something that I make fun of, all my friends make fun of, all my family make fun of, and when we see one, we immediately think, haha, Cybertruck, and then we move on with our day, right? They are pretty ugly, but they're not the ugliest. They're pretty big, but they're not the most popular EVs out there, which is a very good thing because they're pretty terrible to look at. And it's just a one and done type deal. We have the weirdos who, for some reason, want to drive a Cybertruck. Those people exist. But I honestly can't say the same about the Jaguar Type 00 because, first of all, I already know for a fact, and you can, you can take my word for this. I promise you, right hand on the Bible, left hand pointing up to God. I can promise you this, that this car will be over 300 grand, and this car will be so ugly and hideous that no one will even want to be able to afford it. If this car was given to me for free as a gift, it's like some Nigerian prince told me, hey man, I'll give you this car for free. I'm not even taking it. You will never catch me driving around in the Jaguar Type 00. You will you'll never catch me. And I mean that not only in a literal / metaphorical sense, but also in a physical sense, because if you take a closer look at the car, this thing looks heavy. And I mean, you could say the same thing about the Cybertruck. You can say the same thing about the BMW, the new BMW M5 F90, and the fact that it weighs like more than most SUVs on the current market right now. But this thing just looks heavy. It looks fat. It looks lethargic. And that's just something that is extremely unattractive to the modern consumer. It's probably going to have in a really high horsepower range, like I'm guessing 750 to 1,250 horsepower because, well, what do you know? It's going to be electric. Shocker. But this thing just looks like it's going to take the horsepower number and multiply it by 10. And then you have the weight in pounds. Like it's going to be so heavy that the horsepower number doesn't even matter. And with the new M5 and with the Cybertruck, you can make the exception that yes, they are heavy cars and yes, they do feel heavy. But even like stuff like the Dodge Demon, they have so much horsepower and they have so many different road and track capabilities that the weight doesn't even matter. Like yes, it does feel a little bit weighty, but they have the speed and they have the torque and the suspension to back it up. This car, just no. So many alarm bells in my mind are ringing because of this car, and I think we've talked about it enough. So let's move on to some, I would say minor, but these are pretty major stories about the car manufacturing world because it's starting to take a turn for the worst. So I can definitely guarantee you that this was not on your 2024 bingo card, and I know for sure it wasn't on mine either. But Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares resigned effective immediately on Sunday, according to a new report from Reuters. The company announced it is searching for a new CEO and hopes to complete the search in the first half of 2025. And if you're unaware, just like General Motors, Stellantis is the parent company to many different car companies. They own Alfa Romeo, Chrysler, Dodge, Fiat, Jeep, Maserati, and Ram. And if you can take a little bit of a closer look from a car dude's perspective, such as my own, I'm even wearing a Chevelle shirt. And by the way, let me put my mic down for a second. Quick little side tangent. You want to make a car? You make a car that looks like Chevelle's, okay? That's what you do. But moving on. Stellantis, the car brands that they own have something in common. They all suck. Every single one of the car brands that I just mentioned, Alfa Romeo, Jeep, Dodge, Ram, Chrysler, Fiat, all of these different car brands that I just mentioned are currently suffering very bad. And that's not only because of Carlos resigning. This is because that they're making terrible cars. And this is the part of the video where I start talking about how truly out of touch people in higher ups in these massive companies really are. But if you want the biggest example of being out of touch with what your consumers want, look at Jaguar, look at the Type 00. That is the biggest, like nuts to butts, like all in your face example I'm going to give you today. But we're going to move on from that. No more Jaguar talk, thankfully. If you've been around the car scene for more than like a couple of days, you will already start to develop a sort of humor for these different, I'm not going to say stereotypes, but these different archetypes of different car owners, and also the cars themselves. I know I drive a WRX and I get called gay at least once daily, and I get accused of being a vapor, and I would never do such a thing. But as we look and pay attention into what kind of cars that Stellantis has control over, you see cars like Jeep, and we all know the stereotype behind Jeep. We all know that the second you push your foot on that accelerator and you get anywhere over 25 miles an hour, your Jeep is going to give you a bigger death rattle than a rattlesnake. That thing is insane. And I've firsthand experienced this. Well, not firsthand. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos about it, which is basically firsthand. And we all know that Chrysler just sucks. Chrysler hasn't made a good car since Chrysler was made. Alfa Romeo is where we get into a pretty interesting area. Now, I personally love Alfa Romeo. I think that the little mouse design on the headlights in the front grille is adorable. And I think that they make like the Quadrifoglio 4C, like they make really good 4-door and 2-door sports car competitors that are definitely capable of keeping up with higher end BMWs, Audis, and Mercedes. But the whole stigma behind Alfa Romeo is that their quality and their reliability is just shit. It's just terrible. You want to talk about people making Subaru jokes about head gaskets and cylinder 3 getting fired into the atmosphere? You need to look at Alfa Romeo, because Alfa Romeo actually has the statistics to back it up. And Dodge, I mean, I am okay with Dodge. I'm a big fan of the Hellcat. I'm a big fan of the Challenger and Charger. But with the recent new electric vehicle Dodge Charger, I believe it was, the thing that looks like a toaster, almost as much as the Jaguar Type 00 looks like a toaster, but that thing just tanked the company's sales. And of course you have the Dodge Hornet, which I also believe I've already talked about. I remember writing an entire paper in my English class based on the Dodge Hornet and how stupid of a car it is. But again, we're moving past that. Now, Ram and Maserati are two pretty interesting car brands, because I see at least like 15 million Rams every day, and I'm not too big of a hater of Ram. I actually kind of like Ram. I think they make some pretty solid cars, but again, they're another one of those car companies that are just flying under the radar, and soon enough they'll be drowning themselves. And then Maserati, let me tell you about Maserati. Maseratis depreciate more than taking a mint condition toy in its original packaging, ripping it open, and throwing it into a pile of dog poop. Maseratis depreciate more than my grades when I don't get enough sleep at night. It is a weird phenomenon that I don't really understand quite yet. A lot of people say it's because of the quality of the materials. A lot of people say that it's the reliability of the engine, because like Alfa Romeo, most Maseratis are laughably unreliable. But I'm confused and conflicted when it comes to Maserati, because I love the way their cars look. I saw a Maserati MC20 in their blue Infinito color the other day, and I almost had to stop my car on my way up here and change my pants, because it's like I was blessed. My eyes were blessed, because Maserati makes beautiful cars. I'm just going to say that. So we now know that all of these car companies have at least one thing in common, and that is they suck. And they're trying their hardest to keep their head above water, and they're not really succeeding. And I do believe that the reason that the CEO of Stellantis resigned is because of this. Now, let's talk about something a little bit more alarming, and something that might actually affect you pretty soon. Nissan is set to go bankrupt in less than 12 months. Newsflash, I just dropped a massive atomic bomb on you, because I sure didn't know this, and I only knew this like 2 hours ago. Nissan is facing the very real danger of going bankrupt within the next year amid a crisis across its businesses. The Japanese brand is in the middle of a cost-cutting spree, slashing 9,000 jobs around the world, cutting its production capacity by as much as 25%, and is planning a complete product overhaul in a bid to turn its fortunes around. The company's chief financial officer, Stephen Ma, has announced he will step down, and all of this comes less than 18 months after its former chief operating officer Ashwani Gupta left the company. As we can see here, Nissan totally pulled a Bungie. They pulled I'm going to cut a lot of my resources and remove oh, I got the hiccups because of how terrible the situation is. But Nissan's cutting a lot of their jobs because they don't have the money or the finances to support most of their employees anymore. And you know why? It's because of similar reasons. Man, the hiccups. It's because of similar reasons that we've seen from Jaguar and from Stellantis, is because they're making terrible cars. And I'm sure, again, if you spent at least a couple days within the car community, you'll hear at least 15 trillion jokes about the Nissan CVT transmission, which is notably terrible. It is notably unreliable, notably doesn't last too long, and is notably just annoying to drive with. And that is, and I'm speculating here, one of the many reasons why Nissan is failing as a company, and also because they just haven't made an entertaining car that's affordable in decades. You could argue that, but the Nissan 400Z exists. It's like 400 horsepower for like 50 grand. Who's going to be buying that? That's about it. I know I've been recording for quite some time today, and that's not really like me, but I have a lot of pent-up emotion about this sort of topic, and my opinion is definitely totally objective when it comes to my hiccups when it comes to this stuff. But again, I really hope I didn't offend anyone with this video. I don't know how I would, but I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments below. Let's talk about the stupid decisions of CEOs. Let's talk about the stupid decisions of design marketing teams like Jaguar. But again, it's really not that serious, and I doubt anything that I said today will affect you or me. But if I see one of those Jaguar Type 00s on the road, oh man, you bet your sweet bippy that I'm going to start crying. Oh man, my hiccups are just like preventing me from even talking about Jaguar anymore. You bet your sweet baby that I'm going to start crying my eyes out if I see some ugly hunk of metal like that on the road. That's about it. Stay safe.